Hi, this is David with DK Cattle Company. We're getting ready to graze pretty soon here on the farm. So it kind of got me thinking about pasture and pasture grasses. And I thought today would be a good day to make a video about how to improve your pasture quality for your cows, and the different methods you can use to do that, and sort of my ideas behind that. So we're going to talk about the different methods and kind of how to correct different issues that you may see on your farm. So here in Northeast Ohio, it's early spring here. We're getting ready to graze next week. We're out of hay, so we're gonna be grazing early next week here. If I had a pasture that was in disrepair early spring, what I would do is have like this pasture that they're on, it is completely grazed down. They haven't let anything grow up from the spring because this is kind of our sacrificial lot right now. In the next week, I'm going to go in here with a conservation seeder. A bunch of companies make them. Land Pride makes the all-purpose seeder. Frontier makes a conservation seeder. Greenscapes conservation seeder. Basically, you want one of those seeders that has the spike roller in the front and then the spike roller or cultipacker in the back. Those work really good for overseeding existing pasture ground, but you want it to be pretty bare like this is. You want it either grazed down or mow it really low. Ideally, you would graze it though, because you don't want a bunch of fodder and mowed clippings basically gumming up the seed to soil contact and stuff. So this, what we're on right now, would be perfect to overseed, and this is the perfect time of year to do that. Ideally a little bit sooner, but if you live in a place like us where it's really wet in the spring and you got a lot of like real damp ground and stuff, don't come in here with a tractor and completely tear it up and do more damage than good, kind of thing. And that kind of leads into the next thing that you could do this time of year, which is like drag harrowing. Very common practice in a lot of drier parts of the country and parts of the country with like really sandy soil. But here, if you wanted a drag harrow to kind of, you basically do it to like wake up the grass and stuff is the idea behind that. You just drag something behind a tractor or four-wheeler or something, real early spring to kind of get the grass out of dormancy. That's a great idea if you have a very dry climate or sandy soil, well draining soil. Where we live, we have such heavy clay soils that taking a tractor in with a drag harrow like that would do way more damage than good. So we don't do that here, but a very good option if you live in a place that would work. Moving into the summer months, there really isn't a lot you can do except practice good, responsible grazing methods. So not grazing your stuff down to absolutely nothing, at least rotational grazing, but ideally moving the cows as frequently as you can, and keeping your grass from being overgrazed is really going to be your best method to manage your pastures and to keep the quality as high as possible. Something you can do, like we have a good amount of pricker bushes coming up in our pastures here. I'm just going to go around with some lompers in the next couple weeks and just cut them out. You don't want to do any mowing or anything like that in the heat of the summer. You can really run into some problems with regrowth. I learned that last summer. I mowed something in early June thinking it would shoot up real good back, but then we ended up only having one rain event last June, and that really pinched what I mowed down. So you don't want to do that. But it's a good time to identify maybe some more like pricker bushes, maybe woody stuff that you can absolutely not get your cows to destroy. Just go through with lompers and just kind of surgically remove that stuff. But besides that, just responsibly manage your pastures through the summer. And then when you get to the fall, you have basically the same options you had in the spring, is that you can use one of those seeders that I mentioned earlier in the video to go through and seed into a grazed piece of pasture is the ideal situation for that. So responsibly graze through the summertime. Then when you get into the fall, pick an area that is a little neglected and overseed into it. And that's a really good time to do so. It's going to be around September for most parts of the country, all the way into October. You don't want to go too late into that because you want to kind of get that seed in the ground and let it establish before your first frost. And as you get into the winter time, that's when you get into bale grazing techniques to improve pasture quality. So what you're going to do is, ideally you would unroll the bale of hay in a piece of pasture, and you would use electric fencing to wall off different parts of that unrolled bale. That way you have equal, nice, spread out animal impact on that soil. So you have spread out manure, you have spread out hay fodder, and then you move that every day. On a small scale, if that's not practical for you, what I did was I just moved where I fed a bale every time. It's going to take that ground a little bit more time to recover, more like 6 to 9 months for that to break down into the soil and to shoot back up. But you're getting all the seed heads that were in that hay into your ground, into your soil, and that's going to come up. And you're also getting the dead matter that they just don't eat, and you're also getting a nice even spread of manure and those hoof prints going into the soil and stuff. So that's a really good idea for the winter time to kind of improve your pasture ground sort of in the off season, if that makes sense. Some things to note is, don't just go with a generic seed mix if you're not establishing new pasture and you're improving an existing pasture. Because if you have like a really good stand of tall fescue, then you're gonna want to interseed some clover, legume of some sort. So like a clover of some sort, most likely, maybe ryegrass, orchard grass, something that's gonna complement that stand of fescue. But you don't wanna take a field of fescue and then interseed more fescue, which is a very dominant seed species. It's gonna do really well, so you're gonna kind of choke out everything else. So really have a good comprehension of what you have in your field already. That way you can interseed things that will actually add to your forage and not just kind of compete with what's already there, sort of thing, if that makes sense. Another way to improve your pasture ground easily is to do a soil test on your pastures themselves and see what your nutrient breakdown looks like, and also your pH. If your pH is off, that can really affect the bioavailability of the nutrients in the soil. Meaning all your numbers could be good, but if your pH is not where it's supposed to be, that can really affect your pasture's ability to take those nutrients out of the soil and bring it up. So that's a really easy win. Something that I would avoid is frequent applications of fertilizer, unless you're seeding, like doing a fresh seeding or doing an overseeding, kind of doing a reestablishment. Besides manure, you can do manure, and you should be using the animals themselves to spread manure. But if you have to use fertilizer, like commercial fertilizer, to get your pastures to look good, you need to go back to the drawing board and kind of look at your soil tests and see if there's something lacking there, or if you're just completely mismanaging your pasture and overgrazing the crap out of it, and that's why you need so much fertilizer. But you'll go broke pretty quick, fertilizing everything under the sun. So those are kind of my ideas on the subject of how to improve your pastures. What we're going to be doing this year is, we've already bale grazed a lot in the method that I described in the video, and I already have another video on that subject on my YouTube channel if you want a further, more in-depth kind of explanation of bale grazing with that simpler method that I did. But this year, so we already did that, and then we're going to be interseeding into this pasture, which is eaten down to nothing, because as things have tried to grow up, the cows have just been eating it down along with the bales of hay. We're going to be grazing this next week for a couple days, and then we're going to be moving them on to pasture 1 down the way over there. I just want to give pasture 1 a few more days. That's my best pasture. We're going to give it a few more days into next week to kind of shoot up more. We're going to just top this for a couple days just to let them get going a little bit on that, and then we're going to be interseeding into this. These pastures both are very similar. Obviously this one's just growing up, but you can see there's a lot of diversity in this pasture, both these pastures, which is a good thing. But that being said, I want to get some fescue established, some ryegrass established. There's some decent clover in this pasture. There isn't as much clover in this pasture. Getting some clover onto this pasture will be great. And we're already going to be seeding over there, so we might as well use that rental that we're already going to be paying for. We might as well, you know, kick it over here and get something done over here too. So that's what we're going to be doing, stuff that we've done in the past, and my ideas on sort of how you can improve the pastures that you have on your property for your cattle. Please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and please comment what you've done in the past that has worked for you. Obviously, you know, I'm newer to cattle. These are methods that I've looked into, methods that I'm doing, and methods that I've done, but I only know so much. I'm very new. So what have you done in the past to improve the pasture quality on your farm? And what's your favorite season to be doing pasture improvements? I think doing the bale grazing was fun in the wintertime because it feels like you're kind of getting pasture improvement for free, if that makes sense, because you have to feed them hay anyway, so it's fun to be able to do it in a productive way. But please share that down below and have a good one. Bye.